So next up, Lou had a question about print clash. So Lou is a warm muted soft hourglass classic relaxed with a little bit of feminine and sultry as well. So she wants some tips on how to do print clash because she doesn't feel like she's getting it quite right at the moment. And if you look in the Facebook group, she did post a picture of her combining a check jacket with a floral blouse. So we're going to talk about some of the things that you need to consider when you're looking at print clash. So this made me very happy because the thing I think we need to point out is when it depends on how far you're going to take it. And there's a lot of different ways that you can take print clash. And if you think about interiors, for example, interiors we seem to feel a lot more comfortable with print clash because if you think about the makeup of a room, then you very much can have all different prints and patterns happening within the one space and sometimes on top of each other. Like if you think about beautiful country style, you'll often have like a check or a plaid on like a couch, but then you'll have different like a floral in the cushion. But there are particular things that tie all of these things together, and that's what we want to cover today. So just so you know, this slide, this is the extreme version. Is that the reaction we're getting in the chat, Christy?
No, there seems to be no reaction. Unless they're sitting there just flabbergasted, there's no reaction there. But I mean, this is dramatic creative.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that is the natural space and home for print clash is for your dramatics and creatives. However, we're going to show you that there are ways of pulling that back. However, it is still very much in that sort of creative realm.
Fee did divulge she wants that pink suit.
Yeah, I do want the pink suit. There's quite a few of these that I want here, and I'm actually thinking we might.
These are less shocking.
Yeah, we actually might make this one of our challenges, one piece 3 ways challenge. Yeah, I have a feeling.
Writing it down.
And I'm going to actually do some print clash. I think that's what I'm going to play in my wardrobe. Is do some print clash. But one of the easiest ways to start playing around with this concept of print clash is to start with a stripe. And often with the stripe, it can be black and white or a navy and white. And that's usually the easiest place to start because it means that most other prints will work with it. Because one of the key things with print is still that you need to work within your color palette to make it work. And if we have a look at a couple of examples here, we're seeing blue and white stripe, and you see that it picks out that blue in that dress perfectly. So that's why it's successful. Here in this one as well, I'm assuming that it's a navy here. And again, it's pulling out the blue in the skirt. Here it's the black, it's pulling out the black. And here I love this combination. Even though the greens don't match exactly, we can still see that this is very much a cool and clear color palette. And when we talk about all the colors love each other, this is an example of how all the colors love each other. And then we're putting the 20% pop of something that doesn't sit within that palette in to sort of bring it all together because you're bringing in some of those warmer red tones as well. So if it's something that you're considering, start with a striped top. And I'll show you an example if you really want to get started. The simplest way, I'll show you in a moment what that might look like too. The other key thing, and this is just around checks. So just to give you an example that if you want to move a little bit further from stripes, then moving to a check is another great way because it's just another version of a geometric that will work. I particularly love, doing the houndstooth with houndstooth, but it's like different scale. I think that's a wonderful thing to do. Doing the check with the houndstooth, the floral with the check, Again, what we're seeing here, though, is that they're all working within a colour palette or they're picking up one colour from the other print or pattern to make it work. So even in here, even though these colours don't necessarily have the same colours in either, we don't have much blue in that one, you are picking up it's the same sort of colour palette that's coming through there. It's still your cool clear to cool muted colour palette within. And then also going to further extremes. So the key really to making this work in any situation is to work within a colour palette. So if we look here into sort of our warm muted, deep, we can see that all of those colors would be within that palette, other than the black background. But the black background is what is actually tying it together. Similar over here, this is a cool clear palette again over here, and you'll notice for creatives and dramatics, like a creative dramatic, they generally do tend to be a cool clear, not always, but they do often have those cool clear color palettes and tendency to go towards the dramatics as a cool clear.
We've just got a comment in the chat, and it's one we actually had with our super stylers last night. What about cool lights where the PDF, your ebook, says we shouldn't do geometric prints? This one, that is a guide only. As we say a lot, and you probably get tired of us saying it, style personality is key. If your style personality is dramatic creative and you are a cool light palette, you can absolutely do a pattern clash. It will just be a more medium contrast, but at the higher end, the highest end of a medium contrast. The e-manual is a guide only. Remember that. Your style personality is the determining factor in how you use your color palette. So
no, and that's the thing. Your style personality trumps everything else.
Yeah.
In terms of it dictates whatever else you do in terms of the colors you choose, in terms of the shapes you create. So what we say is with that personality, and even in the front of your swatch it will say, you know, cool muteds prefer florals. That's because a lot of cool muteds tend to be more feminine or elegant from, you know, what we've seen in terms of color analysis, but it doesn't mean that all of you will be. So yeah.
Julie is saying, as a classic relaxed natural, I'm struggling with these.
We'll move on. Don't worry. We'll move on. We're moving on to Lou's examples in a minute, so they might feel a little bit more. But again, another example, this is a warm muted palette here. And again, this is adding the drama for them. But you can see, again, all of those colors are within that palette. So it's just remembering that it very much is about working within the color palette in order for it to work successfully. And having an anchor point, I feel, is really, really important. So look, if you are someone who is thinking about dabbling in print clash, the best place to start, because most of us have a stripy number in our wardrobe, is to start with a stripy top and go for a scarf that has some print on it. That is definitely the easiest way to get started and to build up your confidence with doing print clash. And as you could see from one of the previous slides, going for a stripe or a check is a really, really easy way to, or a jumping off point for that. And we're going to see more of these in a minute as well for Patricia too. But you can see all of these actually sit beautifully over that top. They all harmonize, even though they don't match exactly, they're all within the color palette and will work together. And also just wanted to, I guess, flag for Kylie. Kylie was asking about often the scarf doesn't match like the top as she takes the layers off. Just think about it in terms of print clash possibly as well. Don't be too put off by it, but also, again, depending on your style personality, this might even be feeling like you're going a little bit too far with that.
And that key really is to work within the same palette fee. So as we always say, your color swatch dictates accessory color, garment color, everything. If you work within that palette, then all your bits and pieces, accessories and garments should work hard together without having to rely on keeping all your layers on at all times. Joanne was saying here, and this is another indicator about how style personality dictates how far into pattern clash we go. That is, she tries to do pattern clash, feels like a clown, and often gets changed before she leaves the house. That's probably a style personality thing. It's that alien effect in a different form.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen to that and do get changed, because there's nothing worse feeling it out and about.
And even as someone who is dramatic, it's not my core. Like I'm a bit dramatic, and it will be for different occasions. Even for me, some of those would feel like it was going too far.
Yeah.
So then if you do want to go a little bit further, Lou, here are some examples that I have pulled together. These are in your style as well, and they're available at the moment. So the first one is if you're going for, because I know you've got a bit of feminine and sultry, and this beautiful blazer. The blue might be pushing it a little bit in terms of your color palette as a warm, soft, but there'll be enough if you layer it with the right top underneath. But you can see I've pulled out the colors here, and you can see how they tie in beautifully. So that's one simple way with the striped tee, pairing it with a floral. The other one, and I know it was similar to what you were showing us in the Facebook group with the floral blouse under a check. And these are great pieces from Sportscraft. So we've got our Liberty print shirt, and then we've also got our check blazer. And it's what Christy mentioned in the comment in the Facebook group as well. You want to make sure that your whites or creams, so if you've got lots of the cool whites, so your bright white or your silk white, which has got a little bit of grey added to, or whether you're going for those that have a little bit more yellow in them. And in these two, they do have just that little bit more yellow that ties across. And also I feel like you need a little bit more pattern. If you're going to do it, you almost have to really commit and go the whole way, rather than, especially under a check that's that sort of size, you almost need to mirror that again and really make that commitment to doing the print clash, because otherwise it feels like you're going there, but you're not quite there. So it doesn't look quite right.
And if that's our Teresa Murphy saying, loving that jacket, very reminiscent of a magic jacket, isn't it, Teresa?
Oh, you could totally. So that's what I want to see in the Facebook group, Teresa. I want to see you do that jacket with a stripy top or a pattern clash underneath, because that would be, or even spots, like even doing a spotty top underneath.
Like that blush pink spot
Mm.
or the rose pink, yeah.
That'd be brilliant. So yeah, so there's some tips on pattern clashing. I think we might have to do a little challenge on that one. Even if it's not your thing, I think it's good exercise in terms of color combinations as well, to give that one a go.